Hey guys, this video is going to be just my thoughts on one of the latest Time magazine um, articles that's caused a lot of controversy, and that is the magazine that features a young mom nursing an almost 4-year-old toddler standing on a chair. And I believe the title of the article is "Are You Mom Enough?" I'm not sure about the subtitle, but I think it mentions attachment parenting and why some moms go to extremes, and how like Dr. William Sears became the attachment parenting guru. Um, so yeah, I've seen several videos on it, and it's pretty interesting to hear other people's comments and feedback, and how they perceive the article. I haven't had the opportunity to read it myself yet. I have the magazine. I just haven't had a chance to read it, but um, I just wanted to share my thoughts just based off of what I've heard, and looking at the actual article and the cover. Um, it stirred up a lot of controversy, and it was intended to do that. The picture was totally picked for that purpose, for starting discussion and dialogue, and the shock value of the picture. And I think a lot of people have found it offensive, even amongst breastfeeding advocates, for the way that they feel it portrays breastfeeding. Um, and I just kind of want to share my thoughts. So honestly, the picture didn't offend me at all. I personally wouldn't want to be featured on Time magazine nursing my child, but I didn't find it offensive. I don't think breastfeeding is offensive. I don't think extended breastfeeding is offensive. I mean, the kid was 3 years old. He's not even 4 yet. He did look old for his age, but I don't think it's offensive to nurse a 3 or 4-year-old. I don't view breastfeeding in a sexual way at all. I've tried to think about how other people feel about it, and it doesn't. I'm not wired that way. I don't view it as a sexual thing. My husband doesn't view it as a sexual thing. It's what breasts were intended for, to feed babies, and it's a natural thing. Humans are the only mammals on the planet that refuse to feed their own in the way nature intended to. So nothing against breastfeeding parents, because you all have to make the decision that's right for your family. So I don't judge anybody, but in my personal opinion, breastfeeding for longer than the average year is not offensive to me whatsoever. So I didn't find a picture of someone breastfeeding offensive. I don't think it was a very accurate representation of breastfeeding or extended breastfeeding, because nobody breastfeeds standing on a chair that I know of. It definitely didn't really show like the nurturing, cuddling, loving on your little kid part of breastfeeding or extended breastfeeding. And I think maybe they had some funny facial expressions going on, but that was all for show. In the interview that I watched with the mom, she said that they did take a lot of different pictures, and pictures that were of them cuddling and him sitting on her lap, and I think those probably would have been a better representation of breastfeeding or extended nursing. But obviously, Time magazine is very they definitely have their own agenda, and they achieved whatever they were trying to achieve in causing controversy, and putting that picture on the front of their magazine. But in my personal opinion, I didn't find it offensive as a person or as a breastfeeding mom. What I found more bothersome was the actual title, "Are You Mom Enough?" Because that comes off as very condescending and judgmental to moms, kind of giving the feel like if you don't, do this, if you don't nurse your almost 4-year-old standing on a chair, then, you're not mom enough, which is just silly. But that was the point of the article, I think. And from what I heard, it talked more about the Sears family than anything else. So, yeah, that was just my perspective. I didn't find the picture really offensive. I don't think breastfeeding is a sexual thing, so I may be different from a lot of people in that regard. But to me, what was kind of a disappointment was just the title of the article and what it was suggesting. And kind of to dovetail along those lines, in Judaism, the halakhic ruling or cutoff for extended nursing is supposed to be 5 years old. You are not supposed to nurse past 5 years, and I'm not sure where that source comes from or the reason why. I was just talking to an observant friend who did nurse, I think, up until 4 years, and I was asking, if there was a halakhic ruling, and she's told me that was the source that she had found and knew about. So personally, I think breastfeeding is awesome. It's great. Do it as long as you can. I think, that being said, I think if you're still nursing at like 8 years old, there could be some underlying things there that may be a little weird, because I don't think an 8-year-old necessarily needs to nurse or would want to nurse. That may be more of like a parent. That sounds more of like a parenting thing to me. But I think, nursing until 3 or 4 is all good in my book. I don't know if I will do that or not, but I personally don't have any problem with it. I don't think you need to. But the World Health Organization does recommend nursing for a minimum of 2 years. And I think a lot of people get confused because, the American Association of Pediatrics or whatever says to nurse for a year, and people think, oh, I can nurse for a year and then wean, but it's actually they recommend nursing for a minimum, not a maximum of a year. So, yeah, historically, and even in present day around the world, people nurse for a lot longer than what the average time for breastfeeding in the States is. So that's something to think about. It's really unfortunate that we have such a sexualized view of breastfeeding, because it's really not. It's not some gross perverted thing. It's a really loving and natural way to feed your baby. It's safe. There's never, recalls and warnings put out on breast milk. It's cheap. It's, free. You don't have to warm anything up. You don't have to sterilize bottles. In my opinion, it's really great. The only reason why I may not nurse too much longer, or will be a year soon, and that was my goal, was to nurse for a minimum of a year. I would love to, keep going and nurse for longer. 2 years would be great, I think. We'll just have to see how it goes, because I do have polycystic ovarian syndrome, and I'm going on my 3rd year without any real treatment for that, because, I had to come off all medications to try and conceive, which took a year. I couldn't take anything while I was pregnant, and I haven't been able to take any medication while nursing, and I'm just kind of ready for a break from the symptoms that I deal with on a day-to-day basis. So that's the only reason why I would consider weaning her in the near future being like 6 months, 6 to 8 months. She'd be about a year and a half at that point, a little bit older, and because I need to get my PCOS symptoms under control in order to try for another baby, and we do want our kids close together. So that's the only reason why. But other than that, I think extended breastfeeding is great. And the article in Time magazine was a little disappointing. And yeah, that's just my 2 cents. I'd love to know what you guys think. How did that image strike you, or what was the first thing that popped into your mind after you saw the article and the subtitle and all that? So let me know what you think. I'll talk to you later.